Okay, we're on page 1036. No. We're way off. Whoa, way off. We're on Perek Chav Beis, Pasuk Chav Gimel.
860.
860. Thank you. Okay. So Balaam starts. I don't remember what the last thing we did was, but we'll just pick it up over here. Balaam is heading off to curse the Jewish people, and you got this issue with the donkey. So we said, did we mention last time the three places that the donkey veers off? Did we get to that last time?
Yeah.
We spoke about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the donkey, the first time he veers off is in a wide area. Then the second time is by the wall. And then the third time he can barely turn around. Now, part of the idea here is that there, Yochanan, you heard some of this yesterday already, but part of the idea here is that a person, when you start doing an averas become habit forming. And when you first do it, it's easier to turn back. The second time you do it, become a little more conditioned to it. It's more difficult to turn back. And by the third time you do it, you're already caught. You're already caught. It's already something that's for both habit forming. It's a habit, but even more than that, there's a spiritual component here. The Vilna Gaon explains that when you do an avera, any avera, he specifically says this about lashon hara. Why is it so difficult to stop talking lashon hara? So Vilna Gaon says that when you do an avera, what happens is you create some sort of drive. You create some sort of temptation or drive to do that whatever the avera is, and the desire can only be fulfilled by doing the avera again. There's a craving. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a craving for that avera. By doing the avera, you create a craving for it. That craving could only be satisfied by doing the avera again at some sort of spiritual level. So the more you do the avera, the greater the craving becomes, which means it becomes harder to do tshuva. You got to break out of that. You understand? It's like becoming addicted to something. When you're addicted, an addiction is very difficult. When the more you do it, when you first start gambling, it's not as difficult. When you first start drinking, it's not as difficult to stop drinking or smoking. The more you do it, the more difficult it is to break the addiction. Now we always have the potential to do tshuva, and we always break the habit. But it becomes progressively more difficult. And the same thing with mitzvahs, by the way. The more one does a mitzvah, the more one develops a craving. So if you learn Torah, you want to learn more Torah, then you want to learn more Torah. So we think it's because we've developed an interest and we've developed a habit, which is true, but there's something happening at a higher level, which is that there's actually what we call siyata d'shmaya. We have a certain assistance over here because we actually have a craving to do the mitzvah. I can't wait to do more chesed. I can't wait to give more tzedakah. I can't wait to learn more Torah. I can't wait to daven because I've been davening and it's becoming habit forming, and I've got this craving. A very powerful idea. That's what Vilna Gaon says. In any event, if you take a look at pasuk, so first he hits the donkey, and then in pasuk 28, Balaam gets upset. So pick it up on page 860, pasuk Chav Ches. Vayiftach Hashem es piha, and Hashem opens the mouth of the donkey. V'atomer levila mea sisi lecha ki kazani ze shalosh regalim. What did I do to you that you hit me 3 times? Now, obviously, first of all, Hashem opened the mouth of the donkey. This donkey did not have intelligence. His words are coming out of the donkey's mouth. Often you find Israeli politicians who will say something, and it was clearly that Hashem opened the mouth of the donkey, because otherwise why would he say something so stupid and to shoot himself in the foot to end his own political career? So you find it's like Hashem opened the mouth of the donkey. If you get an Israeli politician who says that Israeli soldiers in Gaza made a habit, they had a hobby of killing Arab children, why would you say that? Why would you say that and get the whole country upset with you? So obviously Hashem opened the mouth of the donkey. So here he opens up the mouth of the donkey, and he says to the donkey, he says to Balaam, "Hey, what'd I do to you, bro? Why'd you hit me 3 times?" Vayomer Balaam la'ason ki hisalalt me, because you were mocked me. by not moving. Luki luyesh cherev biyadi ki atarag. If I had a sword, I would kill you. Now this looks bad for Balaam because here's a guy who's on his way to curse an entire nation, and he's going to wipe out the Jewish people with his mouth, and to kill his donkey, he can't do it. He needs a sword. So this already reduces his credibility in the eyes of these officials who he's with. Now, then the donkey says, "V'tomer asan el Bilam halo anochi asancha sherachavta alai me'od chad hayom hazeh." I am your donkey. You always been riding on me. Ha'eskeni skanti l'sosach hakov. Have I ever done this? Have I ever been uncooperative before? Vayomer lo. Bilam says, "No, you're right." Hold all the questions for a while. Bilam says no. So the one of the ideas here, the Gemara says that there was an entire conversation. This is just the headlines. There was a conversation going on here behind the. Balaam was asked by the officials of Balak, "Where's your?" Balaam was asked, "Where's your horse? I mean, why is a guy like you?" It's like the president riding in the president's riding in a Volkswagen instead of the president. He says, "Where's your horse? Where do I have a donkey, a she donkey?" So Balaam says, no, I left the horse in the meadow. So then the donkey speaks up and says, "No, you didn't. You always ride me." And Balaam says, "No, only sometimes." He says, "No, that's not true. You ride me all the time by day, and then you use me for bestiality at night." And he's saying this in front of the officials of Moab. I don't know what they're thinking. They're probably, two of the guys are looking at each other. They're already making jokes. And the donkey is talking to us. So one of them forced ass over here. Now imagine you're Balaam. And the donkey said this to you, and about you in front of a bunch of people. What would your reaction be? What would your reaction be? I was like, "That's not true." I turned to the guys, "Are you going to believe me or to believe the donkey?" Why didn't Bill, what's that? The talking donkey. Why did Balaam try to deny it? Why didn't Balaam try to deny it?
Because denial would be confirmation.
No, denial's not confirmation. Denial is denial. Confirmation. Why does? The Stipler says if a donkey's talking, he's going to be talking the truth. If God's going to create a miracle, he's not going to have the donkeys open up the donkey's mouth and have him tell Polak jokes. If a donkey's talking, is truth. Balaam understands that nobody's going to believe you. I believe the donkey over here because it's obviously miraculous because the donkey doesn't have intelligence. Now, what's the point over? Why is Hashem doing this? He's trying to show Balaam two things. Number one, you're the great seer. You're the prophet, the visionary. You see things that nobody else sees. Yet your donkey saw the angel and you didn't see the angel. A little humility, sir. A little humility. The story with Rabbi Cheskel Abramsky, who was the chief rabbi in England, who was one of the Gedolei Ador. So he was once in a British court, and he had to be a character witness for a certain Jew, and so he spoke, and he was talking. I think they were talking about shechita. I don't remember what it was. And the British judge says, "I would like to hear the opinion of the supreme halachic authority." So Rav Chatzkel Bramsey said, "Your Honor, I am the supreme halachic authority." He said, "My dear Rabbi, a little humility." He said, "I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm under oath." So I got to tell you, I'm telling you, I am the supreme halachic authority. A little humility. So Balaam, number one, he's humbled, but he doesn't see what the donkey sees. And number two, Balaam is humbled because the donkey, the same way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is controlling the mouth of the donkey, he's telling Balaam, "I'm going to control your mouth also. You're on your way to curse the Jewish people. You're not going to do what you want to do, buddy. You're going to do what I want you to do. And you're going to say what I want you to say. And I'm showing you now you have a chance. Turn back. I've just showed you a lesson over here." Okay, now, I want to take it a little deeper. Take a look back at 4 lines from the bottom, where he says, "Vayiftach Hashem es pi ha'ason, v'tomer leBilam mea sisi lecha, ki hikisani zeh shalosh regalim." Why did you hit me 3 times? Now take a look at Rashi. It's on the left column, about halfway down. So Rashi says, "Zeh shalosh regalim." Why did the donkey say 3 regalim? Why didn't he say shalosh pe'amim? So Rashi says, ramaz lo, The donkey was alluding, he was hinting to Balaam, Ata mevakesh lakor uma, you want to uproot the nation, hachogeges sholosh regalim b'shana. You want to uproot the nation who celebrates 3 regalim in the year. Anybody got a problem with that?
What's the relevance?
Of what?
The holidays.
Elaborate.
What
Make it a little better. Sharpen the question.
What does the fact that they celebrate have to do with a problem of incarceration?
You're right, but that's what I mean by elaborate. What? There's you should have a slightly bigger problem. In other words, he's saying, hey, listen, the Jewish people have a tremendous merit. They celebrate 3 holidays in the year. They celebrate 3 regalim. You're not going to. This isn't going to work. No problem. What's your reaction to that?
What is it about those holidays?
They celebrate more than 3 holidays?
They celebrate more than 3 holidays. Some haven't heard. I've heard. I had this first reaction. I've heard other first reaction. I mean, if I wanted to talk to you about not messing with the Jewish people because they have certain merits, what would come to mind first?
Egypt, the sea, Amalek.
Before you get to Egypt, to see an Amalek. Huh?
Kaplan.
What? Besides Avram Avinu. Before Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He's talking about what the Jewish people do. He's talking what the Jewish people do. The Jewish people are celebrating holidays. You want to talk about the merits of the Jewish people? Oh, because we keep Yontif.
Torah mitzvahs, holiday.
I would say, we also put on tefillin and we fast on Yom Kippur and we don't eat pork and we keep Shabbos and we do chesed, we give it tzedakah. There are a lot of mitzvahs. Why are you picking the 3 holidays here? Why are you picking the 3 holidays? Okay, so we have to take this a little deeper. So the idea is like this. Balaam is suffering from 3 negative traits. What are the cardinal traits? What we talk about, the 3 negative traits it talks about in Pirkei Avos. Kina, which is what? Jealousy. Taiva, which is desire, physical desire. And kavod is the pursuit of honor. Hakina, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Hakina, ve'ataiva, ve'akavod, motziin es adam minam, takes a person out of the world. They remove the person from the world. Jealousy, the pursuit of honor, the pursuit of pleasure, and the pursuit of honor. In a literal sense, person is jealous. You could develop an ulcer from jealousy. A person could shorten his life, his own life expectancy because of jealousy. He's eating his kishkis out. Taiva, obviously, a person could do things physically, physical desire that can cause a person's life to be terminated. And the pursuit of honor is the same thing. A person drives himself nuts chasing honor. That's the plain meaning of the Mishnah. Balaam is consumed with all of these. He's jealous. He's pursuing honor. He's certainly a person who's involved in negative behavior, which we'll talk about in a second. But at the end of the day, what is the counter? What's the opposite of Kina, Taiva, and Kavod? It's also in Pirkei Avos. What are the 3 opposites of Kina, Taiva, and Kavod? Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasadim. There's Torah, Avoda, which is the korbanos, the korbanos in the prayer service. Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasadim. Gemilus Chasadim means acts of kindness. How does that work? Listen to the connection. All right, hold all the questions in the comments. Listen to this. It's a fascinating subject. The opposite of jealousy, what's the opposite of jealousy is chesed. What is jealousy? Jealousy is resentment towards other people. The first murder in history took place between Cain and Hevel because Cain was jealous of Hevel. And the word Cain comes from the Hebrew word kinyan, which is acquisition. I want to acquire it, don't want you to have it. He's jealous, he kills him. That means jealousy at the highest level can actually lead to murder. The opposite of jealousy is obviously chesed. What is chesed? Chesed is concern for other people. Taiva is desire. There's only one way. The highest level of desire is obviously immorality. What controls desire? There's only one way to control desire, which is Torah. Barasi Yetzirah, the Gemara says, I created the evil inclination, I created the Torah as the antidote for the evil inclination. Without Torah, a person's out of control. In kavod, the opposite of kavod is avoda. What is kavod? Honor, meaning I'm serving myself. What is avoda? Avoda means I'm serving God. They're diametrically opposed to each other, and the ultimate in kavod is idol worship. The ultimate in kavod is idol worship, because idol worship really means God is saying, I want you to worship this way. No, I'm going to worship the way I want to worship. So each one of these three negative traits has a counterforce, which is Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasadim. Now, take a look at the three holidays. Pesach, what happened on Pesach? Pesach is total devotion to God. The Jewish people, they slaughter the idol worship of the Egyptians, which is the sheep, and they follow God out to the desert. So Pesach is the opposite of idol worship. It's the opposite of kavod. Pesach means submission. We're submitting to God. Kavod means I'm not submitting. So Pesach is the opposite. It's the counterforce of kavod. Shavuos is what? Torah, which is obviously, get the Torah on Shavuos, so it's a counterforce to what? To desire. And Sukkot is the counterforce to jealousy. How so? Jealousy is competition. What do we do on Sukkot? Sukkot, well, one of the things that causes jealousy, possibly the biggest, is economic difference. Other people got the bucks, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of people who are rich. I'm jealous of a guy who's driving a Lamborghini. What happens on Sukkot? All economic barriers are broken down. We're all living in a flimsy hut. Okay, this guy happens to live in a mansion and has a roof that slides off and he covers it with schach, and I'm building something that blows away outside. But symbolically, we are all living, we're all equal now. That's the opposite of jealousy, number one. Number two, how many walls does a sukkah have to have? Three walls. This symbolically, in the course of the year, we're living in a house, we're closed off, we don't see each other. On Sukkot, there are three walls. One flank is open. That means we see each other. There's the chesed. It's the opposite of jealousy. What's the donkey trying to say to Balaam? You're trying to wipe out the Jewish people. You're trying to impose your value system on the Jewish people, and it's not going to work. Because the Jewish people celebrate three holidays, meaning the Jewish people are built on a different foundation than you. We're built on Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasadim. You're built on Kina, Taiva, and Kavod. Hold all the questions for a while. You're built on Kina, Taiva, and Kavod. We're built on, these are the five. Think about what I'm saying. Don't challenge it, don't ask it. Just think about, these are concepts that are brought us. No, I'm not saying it, I'm telling you what the commentaries say. So think about what the concepts, think about it, expand it in your own mind. Don't challenge Chumash, think about it. It's not a Gemara, it's not a Tosos. It's conceptual ideas that we're trying to internalize and think about and apply to our own lives. Okay, I'll take the questions toward the end. A few more points here. Now, in this conversation where the donkey talks to Balaam, so the donkey is accusing him of bestiality. What's that all about? Where's the bestiality? I mean, it is pretty embarrassing. I mean, even I don't know what goes on in the world today. I don't know what's acceptable by the liberals today. I don't know. If in the Torah, if it says a guy commits bestiality, you kill the people, you kill the guy, and you kill the animal. That's what the halacha says. You have to execute the animal. I don't know. It could be the animal rights people would say, well, execute the heck with the guy, but yes, keep the animal alive. Because after all, you kill people to save whales. So the donkey. The idea here is that Balaam. How do you become a navi? How do you become a prophet? Prophecy means that a person has risen in the various levels of kedusha. A person lives with self-control. A person studies Torah, davens, and eventually can actually reach a level of nevuah based on kedusha, obviously. Well, if the equal and opposite, there's got to be equals and opposite. If you want to reach the highest levels of negative forces, what do you have to do? You have to contaminate yourself as much as possible. You have to do it's not just bestiality for the sake of, because, he fell in love with the donkey. It's bestiality for a higher purpose, meaning he's trying to purposely bring on himself some sort of forces of impurity so that he can access the negative forces. That's the idea. Okay. Now, Hashem opens his eyes. Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Vayagal Hashem eseinei Balaam. Vayaris malach Hashem nitzav baderech v'charbo shulfa v'yal. Now he finally enlightens Balaam, top of page 862, and now he sees what the donkey sees. Oh, there's an angel standing there with a sword. So he bows down. So donkey says, the donkey starts talking to him. He says, if not for the fact that the donkey would have moved, I would have killed you and kept the donkey alive. And we learned from here that he did kill the donkey. The angel killed the donkey. Why? Because Balaam had been put to shame through the donkey. And even for a Balaam, there's concern for his dignity. Take the donkey out. And that's, by the way, that's a halacha. When a person commits bestiality, I told you they kill the animal. And there are two reasons the Gemara says he killed the animal. Number one, this was the stumbling block. The animal caused him to stumble, so we take the animal out. That's a halacha. The second reason that the animal is killed is that it shouldn't be a source of shame for the guy and his family, that after he's been executed and somebody sees the cow or somebody sees the horse or whatever it is that he committed, so the people shouldn't see the horse walk around and say, oh yeah, that was Reuven's baby, and then it's going to be embarrassing for Reuven. So the animal is taken out of circulation. So the donkey is killed over here. Okay, now, let's go on. There are a few more points here, and then I'll take the questions. Look at Pasuk Lamed Daled on 862. Neria, did you want to ask a question?
I was going to maybe ask a point that might connect it.
Go.
Maybe the reason that we say Shalosh Rebellion is because the world stands on these three concepts.
Good, very good. It could very well be. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says the world stands on these things. Well, there, you see, there it means really that each individual's world stands on it. That means we were created to be involved in Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas. Al Shoshet Dvarim Ha'olamomed Al Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chassadim means that we were created to be involved in Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chassadim, which means 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. That means every moment of every day we should be involved in Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chassadim, which obviously begs the question of, when do you sleep? One of our favorite activities to be practiced and perfected. So when do you sleep? When do you eat? When do you go to the bathroom? When do you play tennis? When do you do these things? When you bicycle ride? When you mountain climb? Never. When you do the other things other than mountain climbing? The answer is that if a person goes to sleep with the intent, I know I need to sleep. When I sleep, the red blood cells increase and my growth hormone kicks in. I may get taller, guys. You never know. It could happen still. And when you sleep, it's healthy, the body regenerates itself. If I'm going to sleep for the sake of refreshing myself to be able to serve God the next morning, then I'm getting credited with 7 hours or 8 hours or 6 hours and 19 hours of avoda. That's serving God. If I'm eating in order to be healthy, in order to be strong so I can learn Torah, I'm serving God by eating. If I'm playing tennis because I need to maintain my healthy balance and equilibrium as a pleasant person, and I need exercise, and I'm playing tennis because we need a little bit of an outlet, and I'm doing it with that in mind. Doesn't mean every time you hit the pen, doesn't mean that every time you serve you think, L'shem mitzvahs tennis, it doesn't mean, be normal about it. Be normal about it. But what it means is that if I'm doing it with the thought of serving a God, that's a form of avoda. Certainly Torah, certainly tefillah. So we have to make sure not to become neurotic. On the other hand, it is genuinely possible. If a person gets into bed at night, because bed is that's his favorite activity. You got to touch every corner of the bed and hit the pillow, and it's becoming an end in itself. That's not the highest level of sleep. If a person goes to sleep and says, listen, if I could, I would stay up longer. I'm tired. I'm a human being. I didn't create myself. God created me, and this is how he created me, with a need for sleep. So if I sleep with that in mind, then I'm serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the three. That's for each individual. That's what we're meant to be involved with. Now, what does Balaam say? Vayomer Balaam el Malach Hashem Chatasi, I've sinned. Ki lo yadati, I didn't know ki ata nitzav likrasi baderech. Ve'atayim rabei necha shuvli. If it's bad, I'll turn back. I don't understand. If he didn't know, so how did he sin? Balaam says, oh, my bad. I hit the donkey. I made a mistake. I didn't know you were there. I mean, if you didn't know I was there, so why did you make a mistake? Or how did you sin if you didn't know? What's the answer? The answer is you should have known. Didn't you ever have that from your parents? Did you ever get that? Did you ever get, well, you should have known not to do that. Don't tell me you didn't know. I didn't know I'm not supposed to come back at 3 a.m. after getting 3 tickets for speeding. Well, you should have known. Because your father never said it to you, you didn't know. You knew. Don't tell me you didn't know. I didn't know you don't approve of my use of ecstasy because you never told me that. Well, you should have known. You could have known that. Don't tell me you didn't know. And so on and so forth. Sometimes it's a flimsy excuse. Balaam, you didn't know? You didn't notice that the donkey is stopping and it's veering off the path and he's not helping you like he used to and he's being uncooperative and it's never happened before? You couldn't figure it out? You should have known. You should have known. And that's why in halacha also, you should have known. Don't tell me you didn't know. Well, I walked past the McDonald's and I indulged in the McDonald's. I didn't know. I thought the M stood for Mahadran. I didn't know. Well, you should have known. By this point in life, you could have known and you should have known. Don't tell me you didn't know. And this happens many times where we ask questions, we shoot first and ask questions later. You should have asked the question. You could have known and you should have known. Don't give me the nonsense. And that's a Balaam is chotasi. Now, take a look. Balak, what do you call it? Take a look now at, skip on ahead. Now, but he finally makes it to, Balak. And Balak is the guy who's put all his hope in Balaam. And Balaam goes off, and he's going to go curse. Now, here comes, they set up altars, and they bring offerings on the altars. And at the bottom of 862. Vayihi boker vayikach Balak es Balaam vayaleu bamos Baal. He takes him to a high point. Vayar misham kitzei ha'am. He sees the people. Vayomer Balaam el Balak b'nei li b'zeh sheva mizbechos v'achem b'zeh sheva parim v'shiveh. Build me 7 altars and 7 cows and 7 rams. They're going to bring sacrifices here. And again, we spoke about earlier how Balaam believes in God at a certain level. We're going to find favor by bringing sacrifices like they always did. And then he goes, and what does he do? He says that 3 lines from the bottom. He finally opens his mouth, and he says, Ma ekov lo kabokel. How could I curse if God hasn't cursed? Uma ezom lozam Hashem. How can I get angry if God hasn't got angry? Kimiros surim erenu migvos ashurenu hen levada yishkodav hagoyim yischach. The nation dwells alone. And he says praises mimana for Yaakov. He goes through the whole thing. I'm not going to go through the what do you call it? But Balak, look at Balak's response on page 866, 2 lines to the top. Vayomer Balak, 2 lines to the top, 866. Vayomer Balak el Balaam. Me'asisali, what'd you do? L'kovoi v'ilekachticha v'nei berachta brech. I told you to curse him, and you blessed him. Vayan vayomer halois asher yosem Hashem b'fi yoso eshberla. When Hashem puts it in my mouth, that's what I'm going to say. Okay. So, look at the blessing. Hein levada yishkot. Is a nation that dwells alone. What does that mean? What does it mean? Hein levada. It's a nation that dwells alone. What does that mean? It means we don't care what other people think of us. We're confident in what we're doing. We have our own value system. Now people say, "What? You have separate gender schools?" Why aren't they? Why aren't they? And it's like they were. This group of kids were talking. You have to decide. Are you going to go to this girl says, next year I have to decide if I'm going to go to an educational college or a co-educational college. Right? So you have gender separation from the earliest age. Little boys go to Cheder, little girls go to Beis Yaakov, and you have a mechitza in your shul, and you make brachas before you eat food. Yeah, we got our value system. We're very confident of it. We dwell alone. We don't care what's going on out there. We don't care what you do. We don't care how you celebrate 4th of July and kill people across the country. You want to do that? That's your fun? Go ahead. Go do it. We live alone, confident with our value system. So he goes and he praises the Jewish people. Then Balak says to him the following. This is the main point I want to get to. 5 lines to the top of page 867. Pay attention very carefully. Vayomer elav Balak. 5 lines to 866. Pay attention very carefully to the nuance here. Vayomer elav Balak, lechna iti el makom acher. Listen, you messed up the first time. Let's go somewhere else. Asher tirenu misham. Well, you'll see them, the people, from a different vantage point, the Jewish people. Efes katseyu tireh. You'll see the edge of the people. Vikulo lo sireh. You won't see the entire people. Vikavno li misham. And curse them from over there. What is he saying over here when he says you'll see the edge of the people, you won't see the entire people?
Okay,
So,
maybe
no,
we-
one second. The Mefarshim say it like this. The Mefarshim say, if you look at the Jewish people as a whole, how do we look compared to other nations? Look at us as a whole and look at other nations. Other nations, from actually the United States today, there's about a 50% divorce rate, 60%, I don't know what it is. By the Jewish, by us, divorce rate has skyrocketed up to about 5%. Skyrocketed to 5%. And you could try to explain it away, whether divorce is frowned upon. You'd be very hard pressed to explain a 45% gap by saying, well, really 45% of frum families are miserable and they'd really like to get divorced, and the only reason they don't is because it's frowned upon. I mean, you guys have been in frum homes on Shabbos. And I don't think that you sense that this is a couple that wants to kill each other and they're only staying together. Yeah, I'm sure there are some. But as a general rule, they're getting along pretty well. No marriage is perfect. No marriage is perfect, obviously. I told you, they say a bachelor is somebody who never made the same mistake once. But it's a joke. But at the end of the day, violent crime. Violent crime in the Haredi world. How many? I was in prison. I spoke in a prison here in Israel. There were violent, hard criminals. There's only one Haredi guy in the prison. He was there because he forgot to pay his taxes. That's what he told me. I said, "Why are you here?" I forgot to pay my taxes. Right? Violent crime. The crime among the Jewish people, violent crime, break-ins, all the drug abuse, abortion, all these things. When you look at the Jewish people compared to other nations, we're doing pretty good. So Balak says to Balaam, listen, I don't like that comparison. You're trying to curse them by looking, the first vantage point, the first place where you saw them, you're looking down at the entire nation. As a whole, as a nation, as a whole, they're too good. I want you to go where you only see the edge of the people. What does it mean to say the edge of the people? I want you to focus on individual flaws. Focus on do we have flaws? Yeah, no one said we're perfect. Nobody said we're perfect. We have people who commit crimes, and we have people who may be involved in drugs, and maybe. But those are the edges. Those are the individuals. Yes, go focus on some more detailed flaws. Don't look at the entire group, because the entire group, nobody compares to us. As an entire group, we're doing very well as a society. Because if you compare all the things that you would consider negative to any other nation, we bury them. It's a no-brainer. You want to check. Now let's analyze the Jews. I said there are a couple of guys there that talk in shul, and there are a couple of guys over there that maybe, they're not so honest with their taxes as there should be. And there's a guy over there, I hear him every night yelling at his wife, and there's another guy over there who, he's got some gambling issue. Okay, nobody said we're perfect. That's why the Torah was given. Torah is given to people to tell us how to behave, because we aren't perfect, we're human beings. But if you look at the entire package, if you look at the entire Jewish people compared to other nations, there's no comparison. That's what Balaam is talking about. Okay, now, take a look at towards the end of the Parsha. So Balaam, after total failure over here, he ends up disappointing Balak terribly, and then he tells Balak, listen, let me give you a tip. There's one way that you could trip up the Jewish people. And he says that the God of the Jewish people hates immorality. Do you know that the Gemara says there is nothing that God despises more than people who walk around in public not fully clothed? People walk around, what the Gemara says, naked. Obviously, nobody walks around naked, but people walk around scantily clad. There's nothing that Hashem hates more than that. That's what the Gemara says. So Balaam says to Balak, listen, I got an idea for you. Listen to me, kid. I got an idea for you. This is after he's failed completely. You want to cause the Jewish people, you want to get a vulnerability here, you're going to have to cause them to stumble. So what does he do? He gives them the idea, bring out the Moabite girls, and have the Moabite girls cause the Jewish men to sin. How does he do it? He sets up a series of tents, and there's an older lady at the entrance, and there's a younger lady inside. And the older lady says to the guy, come on in, you're a good customer. And he goes in, the younger lady is there. She gave him wine to drink, and once he drinks the wine. So the Gemara says, the wine gets people in a certain mood. And then he solicits her, and she says to him, only if you worship the idol. And so they get involved with these, they get involved at Baal Peor, they get involved with the Midianite and the Moabite women over here. Now, take a look at on page 874. Vayeshev, 4 lines to the top. Vayeshev Yisrael Bashitim. They're in a place called Shittim, which sounds like the Hebrew word shtus, that they got involved in foolishness. Vayochalam liznos al benos Moav. They start sinning with the Moabite daughters. Vatikren alam lezivche Eloheim vayochalam vayishtach v'leloheim. So there's a what do you call it? The Jewish people are being taken to task. V'hinei ish, skip down pasuk vav, the single most dramatic moment in Torah. V'hinei ish mi b'nei Yisrael ba, a Jewish man comes along. Vayakre v'lecha v'samidyonis le'enei Moshe ule'enei kol hadas b'nei Yisrael. Jewish man, the prince of the tribe of Shimon, comes along with a Midianite princess who was actually sent there by her father to try to cause Moshe Rabbeinu to sin. And he pulls her over to Moshe Rabbeinu, V'ema bochim pesach o moed. And Rashi brings out, he said to Moshe Rabbeinu, hey, is she permissible or she's forbidden? And if you tell me she's forbidden, who permitted you to marry a Midianite woman? It wasn't a question, it was a question and statement. It was a statement in question form. Is this Midianite woman forbidden or she's permissible? And if you tell me she's forbidden, so how come you married a Midianite woman? Vayar Pinchas, and he takes her into a tent. And they're not discussing philosophy. Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. Pinchas sees what's going on. Vayaka mitocha eda, he gets up. Vayikach romach biyodo, he takes a spear. Take a look at Rashi for a second. Left column of Rashi, 7 lines from the bottom. Vayar Pinchas. Ra ma'aseh v'nizkar halacha. Left column of Rashi, 7 lines from the bottom. Pinchas sees and he remembered the halacha. Amar lo Moshe. So Pinchas says to his Moshe, great uncle. Pinchas is a grandson of Aaron. Mikublani mimcha, I remember hearing from you when you came down from Sinai and taught us the Torah. Haboil aramis kanoim pogibo. One who consorts with a non-Jewish woman, a man, anyone who is jealous for the sake of God, is zealotry, is zealous, is allowed to strike him down, what we call vigilante action. Ever see the movie Death Wish with Charles Bronson? The vigilante. There's vigilantism in Judaism. If somebody sees a man living with a non-Jewish woman, is consorting with a non-Jewish woman, and you have 100%, not 99%, 100% intent for God's honor, to stand up for God's honor, you're allowed to strike him down. Omar lo, so Moshe Rabbeinu said to Pinchas, Karaina de igrasa iu lavi parvanka, the guy who delivers the letter, he should carry out the contents. You thought of it, you do it. Miyad, so immediately he takes the spear. Vayavo achar, back in the Chumash. Vayavo achar ish Yisrael el hakuba, he enters into the tent. Vayidkor es shneim, he stabs the two of them. Es ish Yisrael ves ish el kavasa, he stabs them right where it counts. Vatayatzer hamagefa me'al b'nei Yisrael, and the plague stops. So the Gemara says, Pinchas walks in. So Pinchas gets to the entrance of the tent, and he takes his spear, and he took off the head of the spear, and he's walking like with a cane, with a stick, a walking stick. And he gets to the tent, the tribe of Shimon, and say, what do you want here? He says, well, how come you guys, what makes you holier than the rest of them? Why are you any better? Why do they think we're holier than you? So they're all happy. They say, oh, good. The Frumies are now allowing it too. So Pinchas goes in, and Zimri is in the middle with this Midianite, and he puts on the spear, and he comes over and nails them right in the act, picks them up on the spear, And the Gemara says several miracles took place over here. Number one, that they didn't come sliding off the spear. And number two, that the doorpost raised up so he could get out. And then he parades them around the Jew. Now that's awkward. He's got them on the end of a spear. And Pinchas is walking around holding on a spear. Now I have one question here, gentlemen. I have one question. First of all, that is a halacha. Haboel Aramis, can I take the law into your own hands? When? If you're 100%, since none of us are, we can't do it. But I have a different question. I was bothered by something. All the liberals say, why did he do that? He should have talked to him first. He said, Zimri, really should, that's it. But no, Pinchas picks up a spear and he kills them. Now I have a question here. Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai and he taught the Jewish people the entire Torah. He taught them about Eidim Zomimim, and he taught them about a Chazaka and Amigu, and all the things we're learning about, and a Gzeira Shava. Now I understand if Pinchas was learning Gemara and he came to Moshe Rabbeinu and he said to Moshe Rabbeinu, you taught us the Torah, that Gzeira Shava, exactly how does a Gzeira Shava work? I can understand certain technical details that might have slipped his mind. If you give a shear and you talk about vigilantism, spearing people who are committing an act of murder, everybody's paying attention. All of a sudden, everybody, subject matter is interesting. Got exactly what Hollywood couldn't come up with a better script. Do you really think that Pinchas forgot that? He came to Moshe Rabbeinu and said to him, didn't you teach us that under these circumstances you're allowed to spear them? And Moshe Rabbeinu said, well, you thought of it. You go, when you had any doubt about it? I understand if he's asking technical rules of shatnez. Does it have to be wool with the linen? Do they have to be stitched together? Is it okay if I understand if you didn't get all the technical rules the first time around. You didn't get this one. Everybody was in shear that day, and everybody heard every word. So why is he coming up to Moshe Rabbeinu and asking, didn't you teach us that under these circumstances, well, you had any doubt? The answer is the Torah is teaching us a lesson. Before you do anything that's going to grab headlines, if it's such a wonderful idea, check. Nobody ever comes running over. People only ask, do I have to say Yalla v'yavo? I forgot it in Shmona. Yeah. Come and ask me before you go out and beat up missionaries. You know how many times I've been asked that question? Guys have come up to me, should we go downtown to beat up missionaries? If I had $1 every time I've been asked that question, yeah, you're right, good question. Should we? Should we? Are you wondering, should we? The answer is, before you do, go ask. If we should be beating up missionaries, if we really should be going downtown, Rav Samet would be leading the charge. I don't see him running out to beat up missionaries. I don't see Rabbi Bradowitz running out to beat up missionaries. So if you got such a great idea is spelled F-U-N, fun, right? This is a mitzvah that I'd like to do. If you really want to do the mitzvah, if you're so excited about doing the mitzvah, be really careful. Then go ask. Because very few people get up in the morning, oh good, it's 6:30, we get to go to Minyan. That people aren't so enthusiastic. If you're enthusiastic about a mitzvah, be really, really careful. Be very, very careful before you go running and doing it. And if it's such a great idea, go ask. Even Pinchas, who knows the halacha, but this is going to involve something pretty serious. First thing is check with Moshe Rabbeinu. First thing is check. Why didn't Moshe do it? That's the question everybody asks. Why didn't Moshe take it, the spear? Why did he leave it to Pinchas? Why didn't Moshe take the spear?
Wanted to give him a mitzvah?
You don't give away mitzvahs. You don't give away. A mitzvah's worth $20 million. You don't give away $20 million. If it had to be, if Moshe could have done it, he would have. What do you say, Benny?
He doesn't want it to look like he's just defending his own honor.
Excellent. Exactly what the Alsha says. This all started with Zimri approaching Moshe on a personal level. Moshe's concerned. He knows he does that. He's not doing it personally, but he doesn't know what other people are going to think. Are other people going to think that I'm doing this because he insulted my wife? You know, the old saying goes, if anybody ever insults your wife, what would any man do if somebody came over and started insulting your wife? What would you do? Somebody started yelling at your wife, insulting your wife. What would any man, chivalry, what would you do? At a minimum, you'd stand, you'd defend her. You might even deck the guy, right? but it's perfectly okay for him himself to go and insult his wife. Every husband will defend his wife against somebody else insulting her, but for him to yell at her and insult her, oh, that's perfectly okay. Interesting paradox, isn't it? So Moshe Rabbeinu, this guy just insulted him, his wife. Moshe Rabbeinu says, listen, I know that I'm doing it l'shem shamayim, but people might make a mistake over here. So Moshe Rabbeinu feels like I can't get involved. And then Pinchas steps forward. And we'll see next week. Now, tomorrow, Emir Hashem, my grandson has his bris. I'm not going to be here for the Parsha shir. And I'm not going to be here for the Parsha shir. But there will be a shir, but I'm not going to be here for the Parsha shir. This is going to be the other one. And the other thing is that if anybody is interested in going to Dovid B Kaplan at .com. Dovid B Kaplan. Thank you very much. DovidBKaplan.com if you want to see the items that are for sale and they're for purchase at unbelievably good prices, like you would not believe. I didn't say good for who, but you can go to DovidBKaplan.com and see the how to help your son learn Gemara, how to run a Shabbos table, and other items like that. Okay, I'll see you guys.